Ahoy! Buck Hunter, also known as just Hunter.
Hello there, I'm History of the Flash, but you could call me JD.
And this is a Hero Story, episode 101. Welcome. And this week we have a special guest, which is Tyler, Comicboii. He's been on the show
Hello.
before, and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Tyler. I'm Comicboii. I've been on the show before.
Exactly what I
And
said.
we've been on his show as well, The Big Who on SoundCloud. Yeah, Tyler's a friend of the podcast, and we're glad to have him back because we have a big issue this week in death metal, which was completely spoiled for me, by the way, before I even read it. So that was lovely. But what do I expect with the Instagram comic book community?
Yep. So yeah,
Yeah.
we were on Tyler's show like a few months back to talk all things Star Wars. I guess
Yeah, it was like
longer.
4 months.
Yeah, it was like December or something. I guess it was around the time Rise of Skywalker came out. What episode number is that, Tyler?
It was in March, I think.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
March.
Oh, sooner
Yeah.
than I thought. So yeah, you guys
Yeah,
want to check it
I
out?
remember.
Go to the Big Coup on SoundCloud if you haven't heard it yet. But until then, Tyler's just joining us today to talk about all things comics, from death metal to Strange Adventures to the Amazing Spider-Man number 44, which was another big one this week. But until then, we're going to talk about the news of the week. So regular episode, just 3 people. Starting with the news of the week, first news actually just came out a few hours before we're recording here, which Adam Smasher was casted in Black Adam as someone that many people seem to not like. I'm trying to remember his name. I can't remember it suddenly.
Noah Centennial.
Okay,
I
yeah.
hate saying his name.
Tyler is very vocal about how bad he is. So maybe explain yourself here.
Well, it's like, oh my god. Okay, I maybe I'm being like a little hyperbolic, but he's one of those actors that like kind of lives on Netflix,
Yeah.
and he's in those like terrible Netflix like rom-com movies where it's like, oh, he's a kid, but he's got an app and he's gonna date some girl through the app
Oh,
or something
God.
stupid. And it's like I don't really even know Adam Smasher. Like JSA is like one of my big gaps comic book wise, but I just can see from a mile away that this is not a good plan. And it's like I hate his face so much that like I might not see this movie because of it.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
I don't know. Like maybe I'm being a bit much, but oh my god. And I can tell other people are not happy as well.
Well, that's the thing. So I have absolutely no clue who this is. Like, I even looked him up on Letterboxd, and I'm like, okay, I've seen 0% of his movies. I really hadn't even heard of any of the movies he's been in. So that just, I don't watch much Netflix originals, so I guess that's why. But, it's clear that this guy is very disliked. It honestly has me a little worried for Black Adam, only because, listen, I thought The Rock as Black Adam, while he would look great as him, I've always questioned his acting ability of. My main thing is, can he do an Egyptian accent, right?
Yeah.
That's the biggest worry for me because, The Rock is The Rock and he's not,
Yeah.
for some reason I can't see him doing an Egyptian accent. I pray that he's training,
As
but
a bad guy. Well, not a bad guy, but like I can't even see him not as the Rock. Like I just every Rock character is the character in Jumanji, you know?
yeah, well, like, that's 100% right. So it's like, I really hope, like, I always think back to that animated feature with Shazam, Superman, and Black Adam. And,
Great movie.
The monologue that Black Adam has about when he goes to kill the lady and Shazam tries to stop him, and he's like, do you feel remorse when you crush an ant underneath your foot? No. Why? Is that because you're evil? No, you recognize that you're the dominant figure. So, like, that's, like, awesome. And, like, that was my failed attempt at an Egyptian accent, which still might be better than The Rock's.
Yeah, I was about to say, that wasn't bad.
Like, I just wonder, like, is he gonna be able to pull this off? Like, I want monologues like that. That I'm like, yeah, that's Black Adam. That was so cool. I'm scared. And like, to make this full circle, that casting makes me worry that, like, are they gonna treat Black Adam like a comedy? And that scares me.
Jeez, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, because Black Adam, I was hoping was going to be a dark movie. It still might. I mean, we've seen The Rock talk about this movie for like 13 years, and he always says like he wanted to play Black Adam because he likes the story of how he was a slave that got revenge on his owners in the end. He was a slave that slaughtered people when he got the power, and The Rock has even said the word like slaughter. So I feel like this movie will be dark. But man, Adam Smasher's casting does not look dark at all. Adam Smasher, I guess, Tyler, you don't know much about him. JD, do you?
Yeah.
Not that much. Like, I've always kind of seen him as, like, a character in the books, but not much.
Okay, yeah, I know a decent amount. I mean, in the end, he's more of a side character. Like, he's not a major character, and I doubt that he will be a major character in this movie. Like, I don't think he'll have a big role, but in the end, he is an emotional character. He is angry. He is depressed at times. He is a very focused character on different emotions. And when you cast a character who, from his movie record, it looks like he mostly plays a high school student, it's gonna be a little difficult for that. Like,
well, isn't it? I wonder if this is also like, because they keep talking about how the JSA is going to be in this movie. I wonder if this is going to like set a precedent of the type of versions of the JSA we're going to get. You know, like, I mean, I don't really know much about them, but I just wonder if it's going to mean any. Like, if we're going to get like some weird version of Wildcat or something. I don't know.
Oh man, we're gonna get a Wildcat who, instead of being like the heavyweight champion of the world, is just more focused on watching chicks at Foxy Boxing or something like that.
He's like a vlogger.
Oh God.
Oh no.
Ah, jeez.
Let's hope not.
I mean, they're doing the same thing in Stargirl right now. I mean, they're not doing the same thing in Stargirl, but they're doing the JSA in Stargirl, right?
Yeah, well, like the legacy of the JSA, because in Stargirl, all the JSA
I
are.
wonder how they're gonna. Maybe this is their way to differentiate it. They're gonna modernize them.
Yeah, maybe. I mean,
that kind of scares me, just because the JSA is kind of a difficult thing to do, like to change up. I mean, I guess the Earth 2 and the New 52 was an attempt to do that, and it wasn't bad. It was fine. It was a good, modernization of the JSA type character. But I think it's like the JSA has a way to be done, and I think it could be really cool for a film the way they're supposed to be done. But I worry that we're not ever going to get that.
I mean, if they are doing the JSA and they just revealed that Atom Smasher is going to be in this movie, I feel like if they wanted to focus, like, hey, the JSA is back, it's going to be in this movie, first live action, kind of, I would think that they would reveal a bigger character first, like Jay Garrick or Alan Scott. But they revealed kind of a minor JSA character, so I feel like there'll be JSA moments, but we won't see the Justice Society of America. Yeah. I don't think that'll be a thing. Maybe references, but
yeah, I'm wondering what characters we're gonna get. Like, maybe we'll get like a Power Girl or something in this movie.
I would like that, actually. I would love Power Girl.
We don't know when this movie takes place, too.
It's the past.
That's another thing. Yeah, we don't know when it takes place. I mean, I'm assuming we're gonna get a lot of Black Adam origin flashbacks, so kind of like the ancient Egypt. But yeah, oh God, I can already picture a scene where The Rock gets his powers as Black Adam, and he's like, "Can you smell what the wizard is cooking?" And his eyebrow,
his eyebrow raises. Like, I, as far as I knew, I thought this movie was taking place like 1,500 years ago, like a long, long time ago. But I guess not. Maybe it'll be kind of present time in a way, like early 2000s. But because like the wizard in the first Shazam says, we tried this powers on someone before, and then it didn't go well. That's Black Adam. I always thought he was referring to like,
that was like in ancient times as well.
Yeah, exactly. And in the end, in the comics, Black Adam was around in ancient times. That was when he became Black Adam. So
yeah,
I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Any more thoughts on that, or should we move on?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
yeah, I think I'm good too.
Okay, that's it for live action news. During this strange pandemic time, there are no live action news very often, besides this last one. So now we're going on to comic news. Two big comic news. First one, I guess we'll do the minor one first. New Comic Book Day will be happening throughout the summer, starting this week actually. So if you go to your local comic book store, there should be a free X-Men comic for you there. I don't know if you guys knew that or not. I didn't know that until I went to my comic store on Wednesday. But yeah,
there was like an X-Men issue yesterday that apparently was setting up everything, but I haven't been able to pick it up yet, and it's not online for some reason either.
Yeah, I picked it up. It was it's kind of like teasing the 10 Swords arc that's happening. So it's not much to talk. Like, Indian Free Comic Book Day comics are very small, but there are some brutal moments of like Iron Man. He gets like his leg cut off at one point. He hits a plane and his leg comes off. I'm pretty sure this is just like a kind of like a flash forward to the possible future.
Was this like modern Iron Man?
Yeah, this is modern Iron Man. Like She-Hulk is on the Avengers and Ghost Rider. There's a little Avengers scene. Okay. Yeah, and it basically...
I'm pretty sure Iron Man in the book Iron Man right now is not Tony, so...
Yeah.
Is it not?
Or whatever. I don't know. I'm reading it. No, it's 2020, so they decided we're going to do... In the 90s, they had the storyline called Iron Man 2020, where there was another Iron Man called Arno Stark, and since now it's the year 2020, they decided
But by the way, I've heard Iron Man 2020, like the new one, is terrible.
Yeah, I've heard it wasn't great. I mean, I read the first issue, but it's like nobody likes Arno Stark.
Yeah,
It's weird that they would just go. Yeah, I mean, I get like this is your literally one opportunity because it's the year 2020.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. And it's weird
Strange.
because like, how can Tony be Iron Man in Avengers but not Iron Man in Iron Man? I don't know.
Well, the whole thing is he's flying, right? And there's a plane heading towards him, and he's screaming like, "I can't see! Like my sensors are all off. I can't see through my mask." And he's talking to Captain America, who's listening from Avengers HQ, and Cap just yells like, "Tony, Tony, listen to me, Tony." So he's still saying Tony. So in the end, I believe this is Tony. But yeah, it's like he hits the plane and you see his leg come off, and that's kind of where the issue ends. But like I said, Free Comic Book Day will be happening throughout the summer. So I believe we're getting an Avengers. Yeah, this was an X-Men one. There's only one Avengers scene, but I think we're getting like an actual Avengers Free Comic Book, maybe an Empire setup. I don't know if DC's doing anything since their DC Free Comic Book Day was kind of canceled. But yeah, it's just happening throughout the summer, so that's kind of the news for it. In other comic news, more bigger ones, Rorschach is getting a maxi series, 12-issue maxi series written by Tom King, starting in October. Rorschach from Watchmen, the actual Rorschach from Watchmen. How do we feel about this?
Walter.
I don't know. It doesn't actually say.
Is it the guy?
It's in the Watchmen universe.
I think it said 35 years in the future. After
Yeah, I thought it was supposed to be Reggie.
Yeah, I think
I thought so
Reggie.
too at first, but apparently, yeah, they don't actually say anything of it. So I'm assuming I hope it's Reggie, but does this need to happen?
Well, I'm conflicted because on one hand, it's Watchmen and it shouldn't be touched, but on another hand, it's Tom King and it's a maxi series, so it's going to be great. It's really tough because I feel like Tom King could write an excellent Rorschach drama with, the spy feelings. Like it could be like a more mature version of Grayson, and I'm here for it. But why is it Rorschach? Why can't you just make it the Question? Because truly, why do you keep fiddling with Watchmen? And I think this is where Tyler and I disagree. I'm very fine with Doomsday Clock, which might be, kind of a backtrack on my previous statement of why touch Watchmen. But I'm very fine with Doomsday Clock. But I just feel like when you keep digging into it, it eventually becomes too much. The using of it in death metal, which a really weird page from that, which Alan Moore, I can only imagine what his reaction would be.
I was gonna say I finally understand how Alan Moore feels.
Yeah. It's like, for me, like, I understand, like, Doomsday Clock had a point, at least. Like, they were trying to say something, and as much as I really don't like it that it's a Watchmen sequel, like, I mean, I guess they were trying to say something about comic books in general and story. So I'm like, I don't give it a pass, but I acknowledge that it at least has some merit. Like, they try to tell a story. But, like, the second that, like, I hope this doesn't set a precedent. Like, all right, we're going to get a Rorschach mini. That's not, I don't like that. But, like, are we going to get, like, the adventures of, Dan and Lori being parents and raising this new Clark at the end of Doomsday Clock or whatever? Like, I really hope they just drop it,
Yeah, well, so I thought, like, if you're gonna keep dipping into Watchmen, it could really only be your newer characters. So it would have to be Reggie,
Rorschach.
It would have to be Mime and Marionette, and even then, I'm like, does it really need to be done? I mean,
Yeah.
It's listen, I get it. It's comics, right? You do whatever's gonna sell. Rorschach by Tom King will sell astronomically.
Yes, it will.
It's going to have 3 printings with the first issue. So, I don't doubt it's going to be great. I don't doubt it's going to sell, but it's setting a bad precedent for, hey, we could keep digging into Watchmen, because you're right. It could be a, Dan and Lori as parents. It could be a, kind of like what the before Watchmen tried to do, but it wasn't as successful. I think DC could be like, seeing the success of Doomsday Clock, whether, fans bitching about it or not, it sold well, and it's the Rorschach's going to sell well. Like, there's a lot of sales attached to watch
too. Like, I think people generally like Doomsday Clock as well.
Yeah, I mean,
so it also is like, if they take that the wrong way and they're like, well, everyone loved it, let's just keep doing it.
Yeah.
A Doomsday Clock in the end,
it's a delicate balance that has to help.
Yeah, it's so much praise. I mean, even JD and I, we reviewed practically every issue on the podcast here, and we loved pretty much every single one. In fact, like, the only hate that I seem to see often is comedians should not have been in there, and I agree with that in the end. But in the end, it was a good story.
Mime and the Marionette, like the characters they created, like I feel like you could even put them in the DC universe.
I was gonna say that, yeah.
Because they were cool and they were new characters. Like that type of stuff, I really wouldn't have a problem with. But I just them keep dipping into the Watchmen universe. I don't know if I really want that.
Yeah, well, you better watch what you wish for with the Marionette and the main universe, because I could already picture DC doing a Marionette meets Harley Quinn meets Punchline.
Oh my god, I can see the cover. I can see the cover by like
by Amanda Conner. I can already see it. It'll have 10 variants also by Amanda Conner of them doing various poses in like on the beach or driving a car and.
Oh my god. And then they'll be like Punchline Marionette or the Marionette Punchline and Harley Quinn meet Betty and Veronica. They'll do it across the room.
Oh yeah, they'll totally
do it.
Oh man.
Man, we just spoiled the future of DC. That's 100% gonna happen.
Listen, Jim Lee might be listening to this right now, and he's like, "That's actually a pretty good idea."
This is all gonna happen if Tom King is successful with me. I've had friends that don't read comics message me like, "Did you hear about like Rorschach? He's coming back." I'm like, "Okay, yeah." So, in the end, like,
I feel like Tom King is the best choice for this as well. Like, I feel like
if
100%.
you're
gonna get a writer to do this, like get Tom King or get Jeff Lemire, either one of those two, and they'll kill it. And they got Tom King, so
100%. Yeah. So now that means there's gonna
be
3 comics maxi series by Tom King happening at the same time, with this, Strange Adventures, and Batman Catwoman, which also starts kind of near the end of the year here. So by the time next year, when Catwoman's all finished, Strange Adventures is done, and Rorschach is all done, what do you guys think will be the best series? And what do you think will be the worst? Between those 3.
That's tough.
I think Batman Catwoman. I'm excited for that, but I think that might be the worst one.
I agree with that.
I feel like he's got a very specific take on those characters that not everybody really cares for.
Yeah,
so that one I think is going to be the most middling one, I guess. But I'm probably not going to read it, but I really think this Rorschach one might be the best one.
Really,
it's going to be political. Yeah. It's going to be very modern, and I feel like if he taps into like what's happening in America today, which he said he's going to, then it could be like a very, I guess, transcendental comic. It could be very good, but I'm not going to read it. So,
I mean, it could also, it could be like what Alan Moore was going for at the time, like to kind of represent what was going on in the 80s for King to try to go what's going on in the 20s. Wow, that sounds weird to say. What's going on in the 20s and, the 10s and all that. So,
yeah, because Watchmen, Watchmen had a lot of fear of Russia and fear of nukes and more war happening just with the media going around and rumors and things like that. So, in this day and age, what are we going to see? COVID-19 in Watchmen.
I feel like Tom King is a smart enough writer to do that as well. So
me too.
Yeah, and the art by Jorge Fornes is like the perfect choice for this.
Absolutely,
it's gonna be.
I love that guy. He's like, I think I said this the other day, but he's like one of my favorite. He's my favorite modern Batman artist.
Yeah, I saw you say that.
I need to see him do more Daredevil because he did that one issue. But
yeah.
I need more from him just in general. I love that guy so much.
It's gonna be cool. 2 years from now, when potentially on my shelf I could have Mr. Miracle, Strange Adventures, Rorschach, Batcat, and Rorschach. Did I say Rorschach twice? Yeah. All of Tom King's maxi series, Vision, like all of them on my shelf. Like that's gonna be a cool like Tom King section.
Yeah,
and his best one, Heroes in Crisis.
You just made me choke on my water just hearing that blasphemy.
Oh God. We don't mention that name around here. But yeah, in the end, I mean, it's happening, and although some of us may disagree, like it shouldn't happen, we're still gonna all be at the comic store that day when it comes out, being like, "Here's our money, take it, DC." We don't want this to happen, but here you go.
Yeah, I get it. Maybe I will. I don't know. I'll have to see. Maybe
Mitch Jarrett's variant cover. Yeah, sure. I'll buy another issue.
Yeah. I've been there.
Yep. And that's it for the news of the week. Now on to the comics. Death Metal was the big one this week.
Yeah, so
we start with that.
Yes, the big one is Death Metal. Did you end up getting the main cover?
I will be getting the main cover. I actually didn't get any covers this week because of the whole shipping thing that we talked about last week, I think, on the podcast.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
It's happening. So my comic store actually
That's
called me
crazy.
that morning, being like, "Hey, no DC Comics this week. They're all gonna be here next week, though." So I was like, "Oh, okay." So I started calling another comic store in the city, and they said the same thing. Like, "Yeah, no, we didn't get any." So no comics whatsoever, DC Comics, came to the city that I'm in, which is in Canada. So they had to cross the border. So I ended up prepaying for just the regular cover, and I read online until then. So I still read it, just I don't have the cover yet. What about you?
Uh-huh. Yeah, so I got the main cover, which I gotta say, even though I'm not a big fan of Metal One, the covers are nice. I remember the original Metal series had this. This one has it's like the very, it's an extra buck, so it's like the
It's
kind of
like
like
foil,
thicker
right?
cover, and it's like shiny too. Like I don't know, Scott Snyder might treat me like a pigeon, where if it's shiny, I'll grab it, but he's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fair.
I think a lot of these covers, like, I think the variants are really cool. Like, they really go all out with the variants as well.
Yeah,
But it's like the Capullo covers are always awesome. Like, I think that's the point of a lot of his drawings is just look at how cool this is, but it works. So.
yeah.
Look how metal
Now
this
speaking
is.
of Alan Moore spitting venom all over DC Comics, God, he's got to hate this issue. I mean,
Oh my
not
God.
only do we touch on his beloved Swamp Thing, but also, I mean, if you went to Alan Moore and said, "Hey, Swamp Thing just told a dad joke," and or no, Swamp Thing was on the receiving end of a dad joke and didn't understand it, while a Doctor Manhattan infused character tried to explain it to him, what do you think Alan Moore would say to you?
He'd probably do some of his magic and undo like the universe.
I think he would
Like
summon
House of
lightning
Emma.
on DC Comics.
Yeah.
I truly am starting to feel bad for Alan Moore. I used to always think like, okay, he's some crazy old coot who made a bad contract back in the day, and now he's paying the price for it. But this issue is just like, oh, hey, Alan Moore, your beloved DC Comics work.
Yeah.
We're just gonna take a big old steaming crap on top of that. Because
I mean,
the second page or whatever, third page, whatever you want to call it, why is there a dad joke in death metal? Come on.
yeah, that really took me out of it. But going back to what you said about Alan, he's still kind of a crazy old man at times. I mean, he gets angry when people cosplay Watchmen characters.
Don't get me wrong, he's crazy, but
yeah, but I totally understand. Like, you kind of just ruin Swamp Things. I mean, remember like 2 years ago when Tom King and Jason Fabok released their Swamp Thing mini? Like, where it was the winter special? It was just a single issue.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Alan would have loved that. Like, he would have really appreciated that book. It was true to the character. It was emotional. Like, it was good. But not this.
Scott Snyder wrote Swamp Thing, though, for a while, didn't he?
yeah, New 52, didn't he?
Yeah, and I heard that was good. Like, wasn't that... Some people like that?
I've never read it.
I didn't read it
Yeah,
either.
I've never read it either. I feel like you don't hear much about it, but I've heard that it's maybe... I don't know. I have no idea, but...
Yeah, I didn't read it
I
either.
don't know what it is.
But in the end, yeah, he's just... I do like the idea of him being, like, burnt in death metal, too. I think that's a really cool take on Swamp Thing. Where he's kind of like... It looks like you just punch him and your fist will go through him. He's not the living life of the forest anymore. He's burning. But...
Yeah.
This just sucks.
It's like... I really feel like... I know... Alan Moore is crazy, and I know that he's insane or whatever. But and he's like a weird magician in his little cottage. But it's like I feel like he views his characters like literary characters, not like comic book characters. Like I feel like he probably puts Rorschach on the same level as like Holden Caulfield or something like that.
Mhm.
And I feel like it's like if I said this on my podcast once, but it's like if the people that made The Catcher in the Rye decided we're gonna do a sequel, but we're gonna cross it over with Diary of a Wimpy Kid too. Just like we're just taking your book and we're putting it in this thing that you didn't want it to be in, and it's like goes against everything you wrote, but we don't care. It's making money. You know what I mean?
And it's also interesting to see like Alan Moore versus like Neil Gaiman, where Gaiman signed a great contract where they literally cannot touch any of his work without consulting him. And no matter what they make of his work, he has to consult and give the overall, it's good to go, right? So the Sandman Audible thing that's just came out, got his seal of approval. The Netflix show, his seal of approval. The new Sandman universe in the comics that started in 2018, his seal of approval. So like he has that great contract where you don't do anything with my characters unless I say so. Alan Moore, on the other hand, did not get anything like that. Like if he would have signed a contract like that, there's no Before Watchmen, there's no Doomsday Clock, there's no Rorschach maxi series, there's no Wally Hatton.
I wonder if Neil Gaiman signed that contract after the maybe he heard that from Alan Moore. You know, wasn't Sandman in the 90s, right?
Yeah, it started in 1989.
Yeah. And okay, so 3 years after Watchmen. And
Yeah.
so I wonder, because Alan Moore, I know his contract is and still is that when it goes out of print, then he can have the characters after a year. But it's always in trade, so it's never going to be out of print. And I wonder if he kind of warned Neil Gaiman, like, get a better contract than I did.
I mean, that would definitely be interesting. I'd love to know if there's a backstory to that, because that would be cool.
Have anything to do with each other, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they both wrote like weird things for DC in the 80s/90s. So yeah, it would be interesting. But yeah, I do feel bad for Alan in the sense, but
yeah.
Also, the Wally West fanboy in me says, wow, Wally looks really cool with the
blue
on I think it's the 4th page when they're walking down the stairs and all you see is the Manhattan logo and the Flash logo. Like that was cool.
That was cool, yeah. And I honestly,
like
Wally rocks the blue suit. Like he looks so good in blue. I really like it. So
do you guys want him to stay blue post metal? Like even if he gets rid of the Manhattan powers, like if they, because remember they've kind of talked about like, and even they've teased it in that Flash annual where Bart's like, man, you need a new suit. Like, could you see him staying in blue?
I would be okay with
cool.
it. Honestly,
yeah, I'd be okay with it too.
Would you be okay with it? I mean, you're the Flash page.
I can see it. I mean, listen, I've always kind of hated when people are like, Wally West should get his own name. He can't go by the Flash. And I'm like, well, that's just stupid because, you know, he was the Flash for 20 years and a lot of people go by the Flash. You know, like I've seen people like change his name to the Streak. And I'm like, no. So I don't know. I'm always hesitant. I even thought like when I heard he was getting a new suit in Rebirth, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. But Rebirth ended up being a great suit. This looks great. I could see myself liking it. I mean, I love like the Blue Lantern Flash. So I think blue looks good on a speedster, and especially with his lightning color being blue, I think it's a good blue on blue. But yeah, I don't know. I could be okay with it.
I mean, in the end, he's still the Flash. They're just changing it to blue. Maybe not temporary, but like he's just with it for maybe like a year or two. I did like how Wonder Woman called him Flash in this issue at one point instead of just Wally or Barry's nephew. She said like, I'm with the Flash right now, and she meant Wally, which was, I like that moment a lot.
Yeah, that was a good feeling. Oh, by the way, a follower sent me a message about Scott Snyder did like a Twitch stream or something with, maybe it was with Comicstorian, and he said in it that at the end of Metal, Wally's gonna be back to normal. I'm trying to see if I can find the message, but he told me that like Scott Snyder said on the stream about Wally post Metal. I guess somebody asked him about it. Oh, here it is. He said, I don't know if you saw, but Scott Snyder was on Comicstorian's Twitch live stream earlier, and he confirmed Wally would be, quote, returned to himself by the end of Death Metal, end quote. So I don't know what that means exactly. I mean, I'm assuming that means we're getting rid of the Manhattan powers, but so he said that he won't upload the interview until next week, like on YouTube. So we'll have to wait to actually like get the clip. But that's possibly uplifting information.
Interesting. Yeah, I imagine you want to keep the Manhattan powers.
Back too.
What was that? Sorry.
Oh, he's got Linda and he's got his kids back too, and so it's like if he goes back to normal, if everything goes back to normal, we can get Wally is the Flash again.
Well, yeah, Death Metal.
Wally West ongoing. What are you reading my dreams, Tyler?
Yes, I am. Actually.
Well, I mean, Snyder has even teased, and we've all kind of theorized that Death Metal in the end is kind of like DC's Secret Wars as far as ending wise, because apparently when Death Metal ends, Scott Snyder said DC will change. I know that they say that for every single event ever, like DC Universe will change forever after this, but I actually feel like Death Metal is the one event that actually will have changes, and we'll go back to issue number ones and go from there.
I even feel like it's the exact same plot as Secret Wars. it's like we have basically our battle world.
About
We're
yeah.
going, and in Secret Wars that ends with what, like the Molecule Man is like this funnel for all the energy in the universe, and then Reed Richards takes it and then reforms the multiverse, and that's exactly what they're going to do in this story. That's what Wonder Woman says they're going to do. They're going to funnel it through Wally, and he's going
Oh
to
yeah.
restart the universe, and he's going to remake it. Like, it seems like the exact same thing.
And Snyder's been even saying like Wally's going to shape the multiverse after. I've been
Yeah.
hearing this all over. So could we see a version of a mix of the rebirth slash pre 52? It's so hard to do because it's such a delicate balance, but can it be done by Scott Snyder?
Of all people, well, it's not just Scott Snyder. I mean, he's kind of like the leader of this, but
Yeah.
like we interviewed Joshua Williamson last week, and he has a way bigger role in death metal than we thought he did. He's not just writing speed metal; like he was in hand of basically coming up with all the ideas for death metal. Just Scott Snyder's the one's writing here. So there's a lot of writers, even then like Tinian, I think he was also involved, and a few other writers I can't think of off the top of my head. I know Jorge Jimenez even knew about all these things. So yeah, Scott Snyder's writing it, but DC was the one who came up with this. So can it be done?
Mhm.
I actually think it will. And I think March next year will be all new, all different DC. Like, it's gonna come back. I feel like we're gonna go back to classic DC with modern DC mixed in, which is what Rebirth's idea was. But I think instead of where Barry Allen travels through the Speed Force and he sees, wow, this is a mess, he's now gonna see like, hey, this is pretty okay. There's Doomsday Clock over there, Perpetua's over there, Metal's over there. We will have like an understanding of the DC timeline. And I think Death Metal can do it.
Mhm.
But we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, we're only 2 issues in, so
Mhm.
hoping so. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, anything else you guys want to talk about Death Metal besides the whole Manhattan the Batman who LMAO's turning to Doctor Manhattan?
Well, I do hate the Manhattan brain, but even before that, Barry and I'm sorry, Wally and Jay was a nice little moment. I don't think Scott Snyder's the best at reunions because I feel like it could have been a little more. I get you only had like one panel to do it, but
Yeah.
I mean it was okay. He says, "Tell me you still remember me, Jay," and Jay said, "I'll never forget you again, kid." Bring it in like that. That was nice. Now Barry meeting up with them, Jay and Wally, I think could have been written better. First of all, I hate the way Scott Snyder writes Barry. I've tried, but triple flash hug, come on, please. Like, please. I don't ask for much. But this is the first time that Barry has seen Wally since he was in his jail cell in Heroes in Crisis. And even then, in Heroes in Crisis, like we never got that kind of, Flash has to arrest his own nephew for a heinous crime. Like that could have been such a, an amazing, that could have taken a whole issue right there of just them talking. Right. So we never really got that. So this is the first time he's seen him, right? Wally's had this big, multiverse travel. Now he's got a blue suit and the powers of Dr. Manhattan. And all Barry says is, Wally? And Wally goes, Barry, my God, it's good to see you. Like, you think there'd be a little more to it.
Doesn't Barry
but
think
maybe this
Wally's
explains
in jail?
why Williamson was not able to, right? Like Williamson was not able to do anything with Barry and Wally meeting. It all makes sense now because he wasn't allowed to because Snyder obviously had this plan for Metal, which wasn't much of a plan, admittedly. But, we never got that. Like every time they brought it up in the Flash book, they're like, oh, we're too busy. We can't talk to Wally. I have too much going on. I can't talk to you about it, Iris. We'll talk in the future. So it's like, this is the reunion we got. Like, it feels like it should have been bigger than a triple Flash hug.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess I didn't even think of that. Like, Barry should think that he's in jail now, shouldn't he? Like, Wally was sentenced to prison when they last interacted. And here they are. Huh. Never thought of it that way.
It's so
Anywho.
weird. It's like,
Yeah, go on.
when I was thinking about this yesterday, it's like if if Death Metal takes place after Snyder's Justice League, like directly after they run into there, and this story takes place, then in continuity, aren't we after Death Metal already?
I guess.
Did I just break you too?
You just broke my brain. Like I'm literally like the gears are turning in my head trying to process that, and I'm so confused.
Like, doesn't it like it would have to be, right? We'd have to be after Death Metal because Justice League happened already, and Death Metal takes place directly after his Justice League. I think at least.
It's kind of hard to
wait,
think.
but I'm so confused.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
There's probably some of our listeners right now who are like, "Oh, JD is so dumb right now," but I'm having trouble like processing this.
it's like, okay, at the end of Scott Snyder's Justice League, they run into that big portal, right? And isn't that, I'm pretty sure that's this story. That's Death Metal right now.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, you're right.
Right.
And if that happened and we're already past that in the Justice League book and in other comics, then didn't Death Metal already happen in canon?
Oh, okay, I got you, because the Justice League is still doing regular adventures now.
Because everyone is, I guess, not back to normal, but everyone's...
Got you. Which, by the way, if they weren't trying to hit that Justice League 50 so they could sell an overpriced issue, they should have, right after Snyder's run, put the Justice League on hold and not continued the run.
But, yeah,
this is DC's main problem, and I think... Did we talk about this last time? I think it was with Three Jokers. Did you mention this, Tyler, that like Joker shouldn't have appeared in anything from the start of Rebirth to Joker, Three Jokers? This is the same thing with the Justice League here, because after Snyder's run ended, we should have gotten nothing for months to make us hungry for it in Death Metal. Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
When they did Secret Wars, and I know like Secret Wars I keep bringing up because it's like the only thing that Marvel did or any other comic did that's similar, but they canceled every single book. And everything from that point on was Battle World, and so that left no confusion, of why is Spider-Man swinging around. Like he's in Battle World right now. And so I feel like DC probably couldn't afford to do that this year because
that's a good
people
point.
probably give him a lot of shit, but I don't know.
That's a good point.
It's interesting.
Yeah, they definitely should have stopped the Justice League comics and just let Death Metal do its thing, because honestly, the Justice League comics are all filler right now. Like, they 100% all filler comics. So, we could always just imagine, like, this takes place in the past, like, before Snyder's run completely, and it would have been fine. Because even then, like, I guess Jon Stewart's on the team, so we can't really do that fully, but Death Metal is the current event happening. I like to imagine that it takes place right when the issue ends. So, say, like, the event ends in January. Then the whole event would take place in January. That's what I like to think. So while Joker War starts next week and the truth just happened for Superman, I always imagine these things happen beforehand. And then when the event ends, that's when the event begins. Comics are confusing. It's the same idea where like, oh, what's Batman doing? He's doing this in Batman, but he's doing this in Detective Comics. Which one do I follow? I always like to imagine the main event is happening more so in the future. So... I don't know.
It's weird.
It's confusing.
But listen, at least we got Williamson to admit this. Like, we were talking about how continuity with Year of the Villain really got screwed up, and he admitted, like, I've certainly tried my best, but I can understand where readers are, getting very confused. So, it's not just us.
Yeah, no, definitely isn't. A lot of people are confused by all these things, and it's comics, we kind of have to. Same with even in Marvel right now, in Empire. The Avengers are working on Empire while they're not in the Avengers comic. They're dealing with Moon Knight at the moment. So it's just, we just kind of have to, it's easier to follow if you just ignore it in the end.
And I think that's how you got to do it as well. Like, I think it's just like, turn your brain off. Nobody cares.
Yeah. Pretty much, though.
Yeah.
Oh, well. What do you rate Death Metal out of 10?
For me, the second issue is very underwhelming, just because after the first issue, after I went back, reread it, we talked about it on the podcast last time, kind of hyped me up more. I'm like, yeah, this has got potential. Tyler making videos at 3 a.m, get me hyped. Like, I was ready for it. But I don't know. The second issue, I just feel like kind of lost that train of momentum. I hope it gets back on track in third one. I don't know. This isn't that great to me. Maybe 6.
I would give it like a 6 as well. I enjoyed it. There were moments I enjoyed, but 6. Tyler?
I would have given it higher, but you know what I loved is, I think it's hilarious, is like the last page reveal is this stupid, ugly, ginormous robot.
Yeah, that looks
so
terrible.
Stupid looking. It looks so funny. It looks hilarious. It's got half of Wonder Woman's, like, it's got Wonder Woman's tiara and lips, and half Batman's Superman face and Wonder Woman's under. Oh, it looks hilarious.
The Wonder Woman lips is what puts it over the top, because it literally just looks like Superman wearing lipstick.
Yeah. and like I would have honestly like the issue is fine. I would have given it like a 7, but that is so funny. It has to be like a 6 or a 5. Like it's just what a what a lame thing to show as super
This is
cool.
Death
But it's
Metal.
also the most Scott Snyder thing in the world to,
It is,
go that
yeah.
over the top.
Like Death
Oh my
Metal is
God,
literally
it's
a
so
70s comic. Like
yeah.
or I'd say 90s, more so crazy
Yeah,
90s comic.
it's like Public Enemy. Like
Yeah.
Superman, Batman, Public Enemies. Didn't they have like a big composite Superman?
Yeah,
Batman
well,
fight?
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought of in that like 2003 run.
Mm-hmm. No, it's so funny. It looks hilarious.
Death Metal is just a 90s comic. But yeah, in the end, I will be purchasing the rest of it. I am curious where this goes. I'm sickened but curious. So we'll see what happens.
I think it'll get better.
Yeah, hopefully. Want to talk Strange Adventures next?
Yeah. Who else is confused? I mean, no, listen, I think it's very well written. The art is beautiful. I just feel like with every Tom King maxi series, you really need the big picture. Like I said, I came late to the game in Mr. Miracle, so I read it in trade. So reading in trade was great. I read it in like 3 sittings of 4 issues each, and it was perfect. So reading it issue by issue is fun, but it's also like, I want the bigger picture. So I feel like, every issue that comes out, I'm like, all right, that was cool, but I need to know more.
Okay, what are you confused about here? I felt like this issue I understood more than any other issue. So
Well, maybe not this particular issue, but I'm just saying, like, I'm still trying to see where the bigger picture is here. Like the investigation is cool to me, but I'm trying to see what is the other plot of this, because there's clearly another plot going on.
yeah, so there's two in the end. It's the investigation with Mr. Terrific, investigating to see is Adam Strange a murderer. And then there's Adam Strange before he wrote his book being on other planets, just fighting lizard people. So, by the way,
But I'm saying like him fighting the people on the other planets, like I'm not sure that I really understand the relevance of it. Is it like that he did like heinous things on other planets? Like there he goes all out and like smashes the dude's brain, right? And like essentially kills him, right? I think they even say like go get him like a healing potion or something like that.
Oh, he cut his head off.
This?
But his wife said, please fetch a healer, because Adam was dying because he was poisoned. But the guy that he was fighting is dead.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Like he is dead. His head was knocked off. So
yeah, like, I was when I was reading this, I was trying to figure out like what is Tom King trying to say? Like all of his stories have like a theme or a message. Like Mr. Miracle is all about. I'm blanking. It's all about like trauma and like how growing up like in like this terrible kind of mindset and all this can affect a person as an adult and what that means to have kids like that. That's a cool, interesting question. But like I'm trying to figure out what he's asking in this story, and I don't think it's
well yeah. So I guess that's more of where my confusion comes in, right? Because I totally agree with that. Like from Mr. Miracle, fairly early on, you can tell like okay, yeah, that's obviously the concept is. The environment, the kind of nature versus nurture debate, which is always the theme of Mr. Miracle. With Adam Strange, I'm not sure that there's a clear theme of the character. And I feel like throughout 3 issues, I really can't get a grasp on what the theme of the maxi is.
I was just wondering, I was thinking like so far what I can gather is I think Tom King's trying to talk about war and like what war does to people and how it can possibly make you like a horrible person. Because a lot of his stories stem from his time in the CIA with all of his PTSD and whatnot. So I think he's trying to kind of hit that at a different angle now, where he's like what can war do to a person, and what does constant fighting really do?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. And it's the same thing he's asked with Batman, same thing he tried to ask in Heroes in Crisis. Like it's a very similar question that he's always talked about, but like he's trying to do it with this angle of space and aliens and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's a good point. Yeah. I mean, they all have themes. Like, even Vision was about understanding who you are, I guess. Mm-hmm. That might be stretching a little bit. Yeah. And so, Strange Adventures, I'm sure we'll have a theme. We definitely will have a theme. We just don't know what that theme is yet. Yeah. As of now, it seems like lying is the theme. Like, pretending you're someone else, maybe. Because I feel like Adam Strange might have actually slaughtered people and lied about it in his book. And so he's living a lie here. That's what I'm guessing. I'm on team Mr. Terrific here. I think Adam Strange is a liar. And I think Mr. Terrific is going to find that out. So maybe that's the theme. We just don't know it yet.
Way as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we know the answer, because the big answer of this whole, or the big question of this whole book is, is Adam Strange lying? Did he actually slaughter people? And I think this book will be better as a reread when you know the answer. Like if we know, okay,
Of course.
yeah, if we know Adam Strange, he killed hundreds of people. I think we'll start to notice things that we didn't notice before on a reread, which is genius.
Yeah.
From a marketing standpoint. Even like you want to buy these books because you want to reread them. You want them on your shelf, so on a rainy day, this could be a good reread. So it's genius, but right now it's a little confusing. But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
This was my favorite of all 3 issues so far, and I'm looking forward to the next. I really like the fight scene. I thought it was.
I still might like the first one a little bit better, just because I thought the first one, like, I don't know, just I thought the premise of it was really cool. Like the whole murder investigation to me seemed cool. But yeah, this issue was still pretty good, and yeah, like the fight scenes were very good. This is some of Mitch Gerard's best art in like any comic he's ever done.
Oh
to
god,
me,
the water he did in the pool was mesmerizing.
To me, it feels like his most detailed work too.
100%, yeah, definitely.
And also like there were some really cool references in this issue. Like I don't know if you guys saw, but when they were at the lawyer office, it was the law offices of Gardner and Fox, which, if I'm not mistaken, are the creators. I mean, Gardner and Fox were like these like DC Comics greats and the Golden and Silver, right?
I'm pretty sure his name. I'm pretty sure it's one guy, Gardner Fox.
Oh, Gardner Fox. I thought it was.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it is one guy.
No. I'm saying I think the law firm is called Gardner and Fox, but I'm pretty sure that the writer is named Gardner Fox.
Yeah. Wait. No. Now I feel terrible because he's the creator of Jay Garrick. He's the creator of the Flash. What am I doing? But yeah. No, you're actually right about that. But yeah, I thought that was really cool. Like I caught that right away. I was like, oh, that's. I always love like little nods like that.
And Tom King loves doing that. Like it's sprinkled throughout. Mr. Miracle is like Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, all these huge creators. And
there's even the character that, although Jack Kirby created him, I forget his name. The Mr. Miracle's friend, Scott's friend, was like, "Mr. Miracle, you're a miracle."
Oberon?
Yeah. He was created by Jack Kirby as a parody of Stan Lee, and Tom King used him throughout the entire book.
Yeah.
The guy with the orange beard. He was created in like the 90s or the 80s by Jack Kirby, just being like, this is like a fake Stan Lee. It's just the DC universe's Stan Lee.
Yeah.
So he's only ever used in Mr. Miracle books, but I think he's pretty funny for who he is. But yeah.
And they named in Mr. Miracle, they named their kid the same, whatever Jack Kirby's real name is, they named the kid.
Oh really? I didn't know that. Huh.
Yeah. And it's even it's funny because the guy that you just talked about, the guy that's based off Stan Lee, says he gets stories from the kid, and then Scott's like, how do you get the stories? He's a little kid. And then the guy that's based on Stan Lee says, oh no, he comes up with the ideas, I just like make it pretty. And that's what people say the Marvel method was. Like, the artist comes up with the idea, and so he obviously has great respect for these old comic creators.
Yeah, and even then, the Stan Lee type character, Jack Kirby made that apparently out of anger. Him and Stan Lee were on bad terms for like a year, and that's when he made that character. As like, man, I'm just gonna make a Stan Lee character for DC that's like an idiot and just steals people's work, and that's who he was. Eventually, they did made up and been like, okay, we're good friends. But that is true. Like Jack Kirby did come up with a lot of ideas that Stan Lee just kind of made it pretty.
Yeah, like Galactus, the Silver Surfer, all that. That was all.
Yeah, it was like when they first started, the one character that Jack Kirby had full control over was Thor. That was it. Besides that, he came up with ideas, but Stan Lee took most of the credit. But yeah. Anyways, Strange Adventures.
It's also the same thing. It's also the same thing with Spider-Man. Sorry, I have to add on to that with Steve Ditko. Like when you do more research into it, like Steve Ditko would literally think up a whole story, draw up a whole story, and all Stan Lee would do was add the words after everything was already planned out and drawn out. Which is like crazy to think about nowadays. Of like that means Steve Ditko or Jack Kirby, all these guys did so much work. Like that's insane. That and when you read the dialogue back then, it's not spectacular. It's just a lot of exclamation points because it's Stan Lee. So it's like, it's usually it's interesting that, when we think of Spider-Man, we automatically think, boom, Stan Lee, but it's really like Steve Ditko.
And I think I think Doctor Strange, I think that's a completely Ditko creation. I'm pretty sure
It
Yeah.
is, yeah.
He was just like, "I'll help you with it," and then
Yeah, Ditko
Gets
came up
credited
with
for a lot
Doctor
of it.
Strange and he needed
Yeah.
a writer, so he asked Stan. But for Spider-Man, Stan did think of Spider-Man. He actually had another artist on the book at first, but he didn't think the art
It
stuck
was Kirby.
very well.
It was Kirby, but he drew him like Captain America,
Heroic.
so it was no
It was
good.
too heroic.
Yeah, but Stanley was the one who thought, like, I want to make a teenager. I want to be bit by a spider. I want a suit to be red and blue. I want to have these powers. So Stanley came up with the character, but Ditko came up with the world of Spider-Man.
Yeah, well, I meant like more like the stories. Like, if this be my destiny, like I feel like that's always giving credit to Stan Lee, but it's like that's literally Ditko's whole story there.
Yeah, same idea with Batman. With
It's interesting. It's like a whole like history of comics thing. Like I love documentaries on it too. It's great.
yeah, like
Moral method's very interesting.
Batman was the same idea with Bob Kane and Bill Finger. Man, I think Bob Kane was the one who was the writer and Bill Finger was the artist. I could be wrong with those. But yeah, the writer Bob Kane, he said, I want a character called Batman, and I want him to be a blonde guy in a red suit. And Bill Finger was just like...
Dash Man.
Yeah, Bill Finger was just like, oh, how about we make him in a black suit, and how about we have Robin and a Batmobile and Joker and Gotham City. And the artist came up with everything. And all the writer did was come up with the name. That was literally it.
And he took credit for it.
Yeah, he took credit for everything. For years, he was the only one who took credit too. If you watch like the Dark Knight trilogy, at the end it says like inspired by Batman, who was created by Bob Kane. When in the end, it was pretty much.
And it was only until 2016 that they started adding Bill Finger's name to things, which is horrible that it took so long.
Exactly.
The first time I saw it was Batman v Superman.
Yeah, Batman vs Superman or Gotham had it. Some of the comics had it, but it took way too long.
Yeah, exactly. He came up with everything. I mean, look up the original design for Batman. It's a blonde guy. It looks like it's Alan Scott with a black cape. That's who it is.
Well, I was about to say it looks a ton like Alan Scott.
Yeah, so that's all it was. But then Bill Finger's just like, well, he's called Batman. How about we like make him a black and gray suit? So he came up with the rest of it. But yeah, that's Strange Adventures. Do you want to go on another?
Somehow this all pertains to Strange Adventures.
Yeah.
The history of Batman. You want to go on any other DC comics, or do you just want to go to Marvel?
No, if you want to talk Spider-Man, I know that was a big one this week, so go ahead and talk Spider-Man.
Yeah, so Tyler and I read Spider-Man. JD was late again and didn't read Spider-Man like he usually does.
This time it wasn't my fault. My shop actually just didn't get it.
Okay, yeah. He usually forgets that they're out, but this is issue number 44 of The Amazing Spider-Man. This arc will lead up to issue 50, which will be a big issue. Apparently going to be a major issue as for the history of Spider-Man, but in the end, this set up the arc. So if you want to read Amazing Spider-Man, this is a perfect place to start. All you need to know is there's a centipede-like character going around that's really freaky, and he's been like taunting Norman Osborn in a cell and taunting Peter Parker, saying that he knows that Peter's Spider-Man, and we don't really know too much about this guy. Meanwhile, Mary Jane, MJ, she is away doing acting for Mysterio in her own miniseries in another city, I think Los Angeles. So Spider-Man, being Spider-Man, needs to stay in New York. And he ain't doing so well with the MJ. He can't sleep at night. He's having these nightmares. He calls her at one point and talks to her for a while how he wants to be there for Mary Jane. He wants Mary Jane to do whatever she wants. Like, she's her own person, and he really respects that she's doing acting and getting a lot of money so they can afford to live together. But in the end, Peter really misses her. Like, he can't sleep at night without her, and he feels like he's failing at life because he doesn't come home to Mary Jane, and that he really wants her to come back. But like, still be as you are. Like, if you want to continue acting, do that. I feel like I need you. That's basically what Peter's voicemail says. He just talked to her in voicemail in the middle of the night when he couldn't sleep. And he even mentions that, like, before he left, I was going to ask you something, and I didn't get that chance because he had to go so soon. And he takes out his engagement ring, which I completely forgot about. So I forgot that we might be getting another Spider-Man wedding soon. What did you think, Tyler?
Oh, I hope we get another wedding. I would be so happy if they get married again. Like, you have no idea how happy I would be. It's like one of the few things I want more than anything is them to be married again in comics.
I mean,
and I really think this issue was really cool because the nightmare he had. So Nick Spencer's bringing this old character, the Sin Eater, which is like it's not a I wouldn't say it's a deep dive, but it's like it's an interesting guy to bring back. The Sin Eater was this character in the '80s when Peter was in the black suit, like the Venom black suit, before they knew it was Venom. The Sin Eater was this serial killer who went around and he killed this police officer called Gene DeWolf. And the
Okay.
story is called The Death of Gene DeWolf, and it's really, really good. It's one of my favorite Spider-Man stories. And basically, the Sin Eater he's like this old homeless guy or veteran. He's something, and Eddie Brock thinks that the Sin Eater is one guy, and so reports on it, gets it wrong, and that's where Eddie Brock hates Spider-Man because Spider-Man is the one that arrests the Sin Eater, proves Eddie Brock wrong, and then gets him like vilified by the press and everything. That's where that whole comes from. And so I think it's interesting that the Sin Eater kind of represents like hatred in Spider-Man's world, and that they're bringing him back now. I don't know. It's like it's an interesting angle to go at, and I'm wondering like what really Kindred has to do with this, like this new
Yeah.
character. I really wonder who he is. Like I have my own theories, but
Well, what is it?
could
Let's
be
hear your
anybody,
theory.
really.
Because I have my own theories too. Who do you think it is?
Okay. Well, the obvious theory is like Harry Osborn.
That's what I was gonna say.
like the easiest one to think. Like, oh, it could vary. But the out of the box one I have, and this is one I don't even know if this really could be it, but it's Carly Cooper, who was his girlfriend during the Dan Slott era. And
Oh,
I
okay.
have no idea where she is now, and she knew Peter was Spider-Man. She fell out of love with Peter, all this stuff. She's my out of the box theory
Okay.
of who Kindred could be. But other than that, I really have no idea.
I guess it's hard to tell. Like I went to the page with him talking, maybe her, just to see like the body type, and he mostly wears robes, or she, so very
Yeah.
loose clothing. So I guess it could be female. I didn't even think of that. Damn, I
Yeah.
didn't. But like I think it is Harry Osborn just because he/she was taunting Norman Osborn in that cell like 10 issues ago. I mean, and he
Yeah.
called him
Really
old
issue.
man at one point. So I'm like, that's very Jason Todd to Batman, like father son hateful relationship.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of feel like it could be Harry. As far as other theories, I have no idea. I would love if it was Flash Thompson, but I don't. It's not. I just want Flash to be alive.
Flash is yeah.
Yeah.
Flash is dead. Well, I don't know if Flash would be like this to Peter. Like Kindred kind of hates Peter. I don't know if Flash loves Peter now. Like they were best friends before.
That's why I was thinking like
I
maybe
don't know. It's like
he came back alive and some of his memories were gone, so they just kept the hateful
Okay.
high school memories. So I don't know.
and he's trying to wedgie Peter.
He's just,
That'd be funny.
I'm gonna shove you in a locker.
That'd be funny.
It's hard to tell, but
I really don't know.
I feel like it's definitely Harry.
It could be anybody. It really could be anybody, and that's like a cool mystery. Like how rare is it? This like kind of unclear who it could be.
Yeah, exactly. I'm looking forward to finding out though. We don't know for sure,
Yeah.
but I guess we just have to wait and see. JD, I know you didn't read this issue, but Kindred's the Centipede guy. Do you have any theories of who he is?
I actually do not have any theories. I mean, like you guys mentioned, the obvious one is Harry Osborn, which kind of made me think, like, yeah, I could see that. But yeah, I honestly have no idea. I'm excited to be surprised.
Yeah, I don't think that we'll know until either issue 49 or issue 50. But this arc is starting out pretty well. Already, he surprise attacked Peter when Peter wasn't even suited up already, no web shooters on. So Kindred is very interesting, and I'm actually really enjoying this arc. Before we actually recorded this podcast, we talked a bit about just comics in general and just Spider-Man especially. And one of the things that Tyler even mentioned was there's not really a defying Spider-Man run at the moment. But looking back at this run in general, Nick Spencer's is good. It's not perfect, but it has been good. I've been enjoying it a lot, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, there isn't really
Well,
like a perfect.
What I said is
Spider-Man
like
right
Spider-Man is, even though everyone loves Spider-Man, it's not very much a must read. Like nobody really says you got to read Spider-Man right now, and it's always weird. But I'm hoping that the second half of this arc, or not this arc, but this run that Nick Spencer goes on, like I'm really thinking Nick Spencer's a really good enough writer to kind of amp it up and make it like a must read book from now on.
Yeah, definitely. Because usually every month of the year, people could be like, "What are the comics you need to be reading right now?" And I'll have an answer. 2 years, or I guess like 3 years ago, I was saying you have to read Hal Jordan and the Green Lantern Corps, and you have to be reading Superman right now, because those two books are perfect. And right now, if you were to ask me, I'd be like, you have to read Daredevil right now, and you have to read The Flash right now. And honestly, I'd recommend Spider-Man too. The Amazing Spider-Man's really cool right now. I'm enjoying it a lot. What would be your guys' perfect books right now? I'm assuming Daredevil's on there.
Yeah,
Daredevil.
absolutely. Yeah, Daredevil. It's
Easy.
Daredevil's. It's
mean,
the best book. I mean, it's like the best Marvel book in a
Definitely.
while. Well, not actually in a while. I mean, Marvel's been doing pretty good, but it's a very, very good book.
Yeah,
So
100%.
I don't know. I actually don't know what else besides Daredevil I would recommend. Like, I guess the other thing I would recommend is Suicide Squad. That's pretty cool, but I don't know what
I've
else.
heard that's really good right now. Yeah, I'm not reading that at the moment, but I've heard it's really, really good. But yeah, besides that, I recommend
it's
The
a lot of
Flash.
fun. I love Tom Taylor.
Okay. I recommend The Flash, and I would say The Amazing Spider-Man. Oh, Batman and the Outsiders. I love Batman and the Outsiders. That's such a good book right now. It's so underrated. Besides that, what do you rate this issue of Spider-Man, Tyler?
I'd probably give it around. I really like the monologue Peter goes on. I thought it was really cool, so I'd probably give it around like an 8. Like,
Okay, yeah,
that
I
was
was
really,
gonna say.
really interesting stuff.
I was gonna say like 8.5. It's a really good start of this arc. It's a good setup issue, and I'm excited for it to begin fully in next issue, whenever that is. That's it for those comics. Oh yeah, Empire came out. You read that, right, Tyler?
Yeah, I read Empire. It was it was cool. I mean, it's Al Ewing and Dan Slott. Al Ewing's a writer I love, and I've always wanted to see him write the Fantastic Four, and especially the Fantastic Four. So seeing that's really cool. Dan Slott, they helped plot it, so it's all scripted by Al Ewing, and the plot is by Dan Slott and Al Ewing. So
Okay.
Dan Slott's really good with continuity. Al Ewing's really good with character, and so it's like this really cool blend. It's got good art. It's kind of, I don't know, it's not doing much. It's very, very heavily steeped in Marvel continuity. It's going back to the Kree-Skrull War, and it's taking this other character named Hulkling, who is a member of the Young Avengers, and making him like kind of this villain, which I thought was kind of a cool idea.
Hulkling's the
And
guy
I
with
don't know,
the green guy with the
it's
wings,
interesting
right?
starting.
Is Hulkling
Yeah,
the-
he's half Kree, half Skrull.
Okay, yeah.
And
that's what I thought.
so he's the leader of the combined Kree and Skrull empires. Like they combined and they're gonna attack Earth or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's cool, but I'm not sure that it's not grabbing me yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean,
But it's cool to see the Fantastic Four in some place of prominence.
yeah, I mean, is Spider-Man and Wolverine? They're joining the F4 for this arc, aren't they?
Yeah, I think there was an issue this week, and it's like while the
That
Fantastic
cover
Four
looks
are in
so cool. I know it's buy bait, but it looks so cool.
space, it's isn't it? It's like Arthur Adams, I think, and that like I think the '90s Wolverine, Spider-Man, Ghost Rider, and the Hulk were the Fantastic Four for a story arc, and
Oh,
people
that's cool.
have a lot of nostalgia for that era for some reason. I think it's kind of really stupid, but I don't know. And so I guess they're bringing that back at least for this story arc, which is
Yeah.
kinda cool. But I don't know.
Honestly,
Empire was cool. I mean,
Wolverine looks so cool in blue. Wearing the blue Fantastic Four suit, but still it's a Wolverine suit. That looks so cool. I love how he has the X on his chest.
in Future Foundation, like when Spider-Man joined the Future Foundation, there was a part where they recruited him, and Johnny was dead, air quotes, at this time. So Peter took his place, and then Peter goes to the Fantastic Four with his homemade Fantastic Four outfit, and he's like, "Look, guys, I've been waiting for you to ask me to join. I've been wanting to join since you guys started. Look, I have my own outfit." And they're like, "No, we're not wearing those anymore. We have a new outfit," and it's like the white one, the white and black Future Foundation costume, which is it's so gorgeous. Like it's beyond beautiful. Those costumes. He always looks cool. Everyone looks cool with a Fantastic Four outfit.
Yeah, honestly, that's when Bagman Peter Parker came in, right? Because then he got one of Johnny Storm's old suits.
Bagman Peter Parker was when he first got the symbiote off of him. So when he finds out it's an alien, he goes to Reed Richards, and then Reed Richards knocks it off. But now he has no clothes on, so they give him an old Fantastic Four outfit.
Yeah, one of Johnny's
and a
old
bag
ones
on his head.
Yeah, to cover his identity. That's awesome. I love that moment. It's so comic booky. But yeah, I guess that's it for the comics. JD, do you have any more you want to review, or is that it?
Well, I got Giant Size X-Men Magneto because
Wait, did you read
I'm a
that?
sucker for Magneto. I see Magneto, I buy. It's by Jonathan Hickman. It's literally the only Marvel comic my shop had this week, so I was like, all right, I had to get it. Anyway, it's kind of just like a tie-in to everything that's been going on with X-Men. I thought it was going to be more of a, um, I don't know, like I was expecting like some random Magneto adventure. I mean, I guess it is a random Magneto adventure, but essentially they're setting up another island for Emma Frost to have. So Magneto's going out there, and Namor is the owner of the island, so he has to negotiate with Namor to get the island. It's kind of interesting. I don't know. It's an all right issue. They go down like way deep underwater to basically like the Marvel Trench, and
cool.
Magneto helps save Namor's life under there when like he gets attacked by some like weird like snail looking thing. I don't know. It was kind of cool. But anyway, after Magneto saves his life, he decides to give Magneto the island, and Magneto gifts the island to Emma Frost, and they set up like a base there, and it's got like the Sentinel head is like a base. It looks pretty cool, actually. It reminds me of like the Avengers Tower, the one they set up recently.
I was gonna say, does that tie into Avengers?
Yeah, it's on a random island, and it ties into the X books. It's cool.
Cool. I like that, actually. I'm gonna actually go pick that up and read it for myself. That's a really cool idea. I like how they're using the dead Sentinels as homes.
Hickman issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very Hickman. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. But yeah, I see Magneto, I buy. I'm a simple man.
Interesting.
He's awesome.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
Hickman
if
and Magneto was like a made in heaven.
Yeah.
that's it for the comics this week. Anything else you guys want to go over? Or should we wrap it up there? Wrap it up there. Cool.
Well, no, I was just gonna say, like, we had a lot of comic discussion before the recording actually started about comic collecting and just comics in general. It's a cool time to be a comic fan. I don't know. I have these weird things where it's like, I feel like sometimes I kind of fall out of love with comics, not to the point of like where I just don't want to read them, but to the point where I'm like struggling to keep reading new issues because like the universes start to get whack at some point. The titles you like start to turn. It's like a weird thing, but then there's great back issues that remind me like why I love comics, and that's what keeps me going.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know
That's good.
if you guys feel the same.
It's like I
at some
remember
points.
I was thinking about this the other day. At one point in 2018, I remember this one distinct day where Heroes in Crisis issue 1 came out. There was a Doomsday Clock issue, and something else that I hated happened, and it was just like everything piled on top, and I was like, I think I might quit. Like I really, like the Doomsday Clock issue wasn't bad. It was more just like I don't want this.
Yeah.
And then Heroes in Crisis, they killed Wally and they killed Roy, and I was like, get out of my face. And I woke up that day, I had a miserable day because of it, and I was like, I might just quit. Like I really was like thinking all day. I was like, I don't have to do this anymore. I can quit now. Like no one's making me do this. And
Yeah.
I think I read like Ultimate Spider-Man again, and I was like, you know what? This is my favorite. Like I love this stuff. I can never. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in it for life now. Like
Yeah.
unfortunately. Yeah, it's so hard to quit. It's so hard. So hard.
It's like comics are literally an addiction.
Yeah,
Hey, it's
so
not, at least
hard.
it's not
Like
drugs.
sometimes I remember, I remember at one point it was the same year actually. I had bought like they had a sale on Comixology, and I had bought like 30 Flash issues, and I read them all in one day. And then the next day I was like, I need to slow down. I can't do that every day. So I tried to take a full day without reading a